Hello and welcome to your parliamentary program, The Parliament, which deliberates on legislative policies from the chambers of the National Assembly to the voices shaping Nigeria's democratic journey. Welcome once again. I am Anieti Patrick. It's good to have you join us on this program because each week we bring you the latest decisions, debates, and developments from the heart of the legislature, the bills shaping national policy, the motions addressing citizens' concerns, and oversight actions holding the government accountable. On this episode of the program, the Senate has expanded its investigation into the Safe Schools Initiative, extending the probe to key education and social intervention agency while granting its ad hoc committee an additional 3 weeks to conclude its assignment. The expanded investigation will now cover the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, as well as the National Social Investments Program Agency. Chairman of the ad hoc committee, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, who moved the motion on the Senate's floor, said preliminary findings reveal strong links between the Safe Schools Initiative and the funding and implementation roles of several federal institutions.
We're supposed to submit our reports, and there are few more areas that we have not gone. So I needed the permission of the Senate to mention it so that we can conclude in the next 2-3 weeks and come back with the report, if I have the permission.
Following the committee's findings, the Senate also directed it to audit infrastructure and security intervention projects funded by TET Fund, assess NEL Fund student loan disbursement processes and operational efficiency, and examine UBEC's interventions in basic education. Presiding over plenary, Senate President Godswill Akpabio put the request for an extension to a voice vote, with lawmakers overwhelmingly approving an additional 3 weeks for the committee to complete its investigation. The Senate says the expanded probe is aimed at ensuring a comprehensive review of education funding, school security, and intervention programs designed to protect and support learners across the country. The House of Representatives has expressed its determination to uncover how a non-existent government agency secured a 1.3 billion naira allocation in the 2026 budget. Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas, represented by the House Majority Leader, Professor Julius Ihonvere, who made this known while addressing the investigative hearing in Abuja, stressed that accountability and transparency must prevail. The House of Representatives has intensified its investigation into the controversial 1.3 billion naira allocation to an unestablished government council in the 2026 budget, with the head of the Civil Service of the Federation admitting her office failed to properly verify documents presented to it. Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas, represented by the House Majority Leader, Professor Julius Ihonvere, noted that the controversy surrounding the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council has generated widespread public concern, despite the presidency distancing itself from the body. He maintained that the probe is not about individuals, but institutions and the integrity of public administration, urging stakeholders concerned to support committee to enable it conduct an excellent job.
The committee's assignment should be guided by clear terms of reference. It should determine the legal basis, if any, for the establishment and operation of the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council. It should investigate the circumstances surrounding the creation of the council, including processes through which it came to existence, and whether these processes complied with the Constitution and extant law.
Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Didi Wilson Jack, told lawmakers that her office neither allocated office space to the agency nor authenticated the documents presented. She, however, admitted officials observed irregularities but failed to carry out further verification, adding that the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation should explain how the office was allocated.
The office space indicated as the Council's physical address in the Federal Secretariat Phase 3 is part of the office spaces allocated to the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, bid letter dated 16th November 2023, to reallocate as they deem fit for the use of the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation.
A director at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Hamisu Abdullahi, representing the CBN governor, also disclosed that it opened 2 accounts for the agency on the directive of the Office of the Accountant General, but said both accounts remained dormant because the required documentation was never completed. Lawmakers questioned the basis for opening accounts for an agency without legal backing.
Actually, 4 accounts, but because our conversation is only on this council, that's why we mentioned 2. But actually, there are 4 accounts on that list. Any additional document, we believe the Office of the Accountant General has that responsibility.
Confirmation by the Office of the Accountant General. Do you require any other document? For example, don't you require an enabling act for a new government entity as part of the documents for opening that account? You said you require 1 authorization from the Office of the Accountant General. Don't you require also an act authorizing the creation of that entity?
The committee also criticized the absence of some invited officials, directing them to appear at the next hearing, as Chairman Yusuf Gadi assured that the panel would conclude its investigation and submit its reports to the House within 2 weeks.
Information you are giving us is giving us more work because we thought we are investigating one agency. We didn't know that the name of the fake agencies are 2 in 1. They always put Presidential Economic Advisory Council / Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council.
As the probe continues, lawmakers say no individual or institution will be exempted from scrutiny in uncovering how the allocation found its way into the 2026 budget. The Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petitions has dismissed a petition seeking an investigation into the demolition of a property in Kogi State allegedly linked to suspected members of the Islamic State's West African province, ISWAP. The committee ruled that the matter is already before a competent court and therefore cannot be entertained by the National Assembly. A petition before the Senate's Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petitions seeking a probe into the demolition of a property in Kogi State has been struck out over legal grounds. The petition, presented by Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Udoha, asked the committee to investigate whether due process was followed in demolishing the property reportedly owned by Zainab Abdulmalik, wife of a former Director General of the Kogi State Bureau of Lands. The property had been alleged by state authorities to have harbored suspected ISWAP members. At the hearing, Senator Nida Imausen sought clarification on whether the matter was already before a court. Upon confirmation that litigation was ongoing, the committee ruled that it could not deliberate on the petition, citing the principle of sub judice, which bars legislative consideration of matters pending before the courts.
After carefully considering the contents of this petition, which gave rise to the invitation to appear before the committee, I respectfully state that the entire issues raised in the said petition are sub judice, that is, the subject of pending litigation. Indeed, the petitioner referred to one of the pending suits in paragraph 6 of the petition. So I want to ask, is this matter in any way before a law court?
However, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and counsel to the petitioner, Femi Victor, maintained that the issues raised before the Senate were distinct from those before the courts and urged the committee to proceed with its inquiry.
I'm actually the senator representing the petitioner, and I would like to say, with respect to the parties, there are two different matters. On what the state government is laying claim to, that's the suit, is the state against Samari Abdulmalik Taina. While what we have, the petitioner, is Haja Abdulmalik Zainab. So I think there are two different issues. She's here on the grounds that her properties were demolished. She's here on her own grounds.
Reacting to the decision, petitioner Zainab Abdulmalik expressed disappointment, explaining that she only sought judicial intervention after the petition she submitted to the Senate in February failed to receive attention.
The property I'm fighting for is my own. They cannot name me as ISWAP and kidnapping. I'll just keep quiet and be looking. I wrote the petition since February 9, nothing come out. And I write Commissioner of Police, I write DSS in Kogi State, nothing come out of it. And see, I'm pressing. No, I cannot announce you to come and name me as ISWAP and kidnapping. Do I'm dressing. So that is why. So I know the right. I know that if any matter is required, but I've wrote the petition before the matter went to court. And him that they are copies. See when the matter went to court, he didn't come to the court. He didn't show up. I live for God, and the God will judge you, police Shalal Karim.
The committee, however, advised the petitioner to withdraw the pending court case before resubmitting the petition for legislative consideration.
The House of Representatives Committee on Finance has directed the Nigerian Customs Service and the National Sugar Development Council to strengthen transparency and accountability in the collection and remittance of sugar import levies. The directive came during an oversight meeting chaired by the Deputy Chairman of the committee, Seidu Abdullahi, at the National Assembly.
Lawmakers raised concerns over the absence of a transparent system that allows the National Sugar Development Council to independently verify levy collections made by the Nigerian Customs Service on behalf of the federal government. Committee members, led by the Deputy Chairman of the committee, Seidu Abdullahi, stressed that effective oversight requires timely access to accurate revenue records and urged both agencies to establish a seamless data sharing mechanism.
The sugar industry, what the things that we need to do to make the country self-sufficient, not just self-sufficient, but for us to be able to optimize our potential to the extent that we will be able to export our excess produce.
Responding, the Nigerian Customs Service, represented by Deputy Controller General Kikelomo Adiola, explained that levy collection records are available within the service digital platform and assured lawmakers that the information would be shared once formally requested by the council.
Under import prohibition, as per government policy in Nigeria, yes sir, refined sugar, because we have refineries, and that is why even when they give quota, when they give them, you are to bring in this amount. What custom does is to ensure that they do not exceed that quota given to them. And the rate is there in the common external tariff.
The Executive Secretary, National Sugar Development Council, Kamal Bakrin, admitted it had not enjoyed full visibility of levy remittances but welcomed the committee's intervention to improve transparency. He also briefed lawmakers on efforts to accelerate the Nigerian Sugar Master Plan, saying new investment commitments and a proposed $1 billion financing facility are expected to boost domestic sugar production and reduce Nigeria's dependence on imports.
This is an extremely important question. As quite a number of members are aware, we are working against a decades-long deficit situation in terms of the gap between local production and our actual consumption.
The committee reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring stronger collaboration among revenue-generating agencies in support of fiscal accountability and economic growth. It stated that it will continue monitoring compliance with its directives as part of efforts to strengthen revenue administration and enhance transparency in the nation's public finance system. The House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the extent to which the South African government may have contributed to or been complicit in the recurring xenophobic attacks against Nigerians. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion sponsored by Babajimi Benson mandating the House committees on diaspora and foreign affairs to investigate the attacks and assess the losses, damages, and casualties suffered by Nigerians. As the House of Representatives resumed legislative activities after its open week, lawmakers directed the Committee on Diaspora and Foreign Affairs to document abandoned properties and recommend diplomatic measures to better protect Nigerians living in South Africa. The sponsor of the motion, Representative Babajimi Benson, said the investigation will establish the cumulative human and economic impact of the attacks on Nigerians over the years, with a view to ensuring accountability for perpetrators and strengthening the protection of Nigerians in South Africa.
Worried that every successive wave of xenophobic violence has been followed by public condemnation and diplomatic protests, without a corresponding institutional effort to comprehensively document the losses suffered by Nigerians, thereby denying the federal government and the National Assembly an authoritative evidential basis for policy formulation, legislative intervention, and sustained diplomatic negotiations.
Lawmakers also adopted a motion by Billy Osaworu calling for stronger nationwide food safety measures to address the rising cases of foodborne diseases.
The House is concerned that despite the federal government's commitment to curb the issue of foodborne disease, Nigeria still accounts for a high number of approximately 50 million foodborne diseases and more than 53,000 deaths caused by unsafe food yearly, leading to the aggregate number of 4.26 million healthy lives lost annually to ill-health, disability, and premature death due to foodborne diseases, with over 80% of these predominantly children.
The House further urged the federal government to release ecological fund resources to address shoreline erosion threatening the Esakon, lubricants and chemicals blending plants in Gambarin, Bayelsa State, following a motion sponsored by Oboko Ofoji.
The House is concerned that severe shoreline erosion has caused extensive damage to the project site, delayed the project, and threatened the visibility of this important national investment. Mr. Speaker, Nigerians are worried that the Integrated Manufacturing Complex, IMC, building was already at 75% completed, but was dismantled because of the shoreline erosion, which exposed and destroyed the building foundation pile.
In another development, the House adopted a motion by Ibe Osonwa calling for a comprehensive audit and digital registry of all seized, forfeited, and recovered assets in Nigeria to strengthen transparency, accountability, and public oversight.
The House is cognizant that the absence of a unified national database undermines transparency, weakens public confidence in the asset recovery process, and impedes effective legislative oversight. The House recognizes that the deployment of modern digital technology can significantly improve transparency, accountability, interagency.
The House also considered and passed the 2026 budget of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund, valued at 33.96 billion naira. A breakdown of the budget allocates 43.78 billion naira for capital expenditure at the Nigerian Police Trust Fund headquarters, 179.10 billion naira for capital expenditure at the Nigerian Police Force headquarters, 1.85 billion naira for personnel costs, and 9.21 billion naira for overhead costs.
Let's take a breather here, and on the flip side, we'll bring you more unfolding of proceedings at the National Assembly. The House of Representatives Committee on Petroleum Resources Downstream has begun consultations with key players in Nigeria's downstream petroleum sector as part of efforts to bridge differences over fuel importation and domestic refining while strengthening the nation's energy security. The engagement brought together major industry operators, including the Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, DAPMAN, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, and the Major Energies Marketers Association of Nigeria, MEMAN.
Chairman of the House Committee on Petroleum Resources Downstream, Ikenga Ugochinyere, said the House is committed to developing reforms through consultation rather than confrontation would be introduced without the input of critical stakeholders. He noted that Nigeria's expanding domestic refining capacity, changing import dynamics, and ongoing reforms require close collaboration between government and industry operators to guarantee stable fuel supply and affordable energy for Nigerians.
Nigeria stands at a defining moment in her energy history. Domestic refining capacity is growing, importation dynamics are shifting, pipeline security remains a national priority.
During the interactive session, DAPMAN's Executive Secretary Olufemi Adewale called for practical implementation of operating stock provisions under the Petroleum Industry Act, improved infrastructure, and stronger markets monitoring to enhance product availability.
DAPMAN members are key players in ensuring fuel availability across the country. Since the establishment of the first private depots in 1998, members have collectively improved, sustained, and strengthened Nigeria's energy infrastructure, supporting fuel importation, storage, and distribution capabilities.
IPMAN's chairman, Abubakar Shetima, identified high financing costs, foreign exchange volatility, poor transport infrastructure, and limited access to refinery products as major challenges confronting independent marketers, urging lawmakers to support reforms that would lower distribution costs and attract investments.
Let's encourage Nigerian refiners, because in the other days we fully depend on importation. But now today, Nigerians have started exporting petroleum products outside.
The Executive Secretary of MEMAN, Clement Isong, backed increased domestic refining but cautioned against a complete halt to fuel imports, insisting that strategic imports should remain an option to safeguard national energy security during supply disruptions.
As a country, we do like having local refining. It is extremely important that we fully beneficiate our crude oil at home.
Stakeholders say continued dialogue between lawmakers, regulators, and operators will be critical to achieving a competitive downstream petroleum sector capable of guaranteeing reliable fuel supply while supporting Nigeria's long-term energy security.
The Nigerian Police Force has explained why it could not produce the self-acclaimed Director General of the alleged Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council before the House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating the controversial body. The police say the suspect remains in custody under a valid Federal High Court order. The Nigerian Police Force says it is unable to comply with the House Committee's directive to produce the self-acclaimed Director General of the alleged Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council, Prince Adeyemi Adeniyi, because he is currently being held under a valid order of the Federal High Court. Representing the Inspector General of Police, Deputy Commissioner of Police Olufemi Akinola told the committee that the police would require a reproduction warranty from the court before presenting the suspects before lawmakers. The investigation followed submissions by the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Budget Office of the Federation, and other government agencies, all of which disowned the purported council.
As it is so, in order for us to be able to continue to relate well, we are of the opinion that the Honorable Committee Chairman, as well as the committee members, could seek or avail us a reproduction warrant, sir.
In accordance with the practice in the office, and out of the 88 ministries that were approved, we are really surprised that we were unable to detect the PEAC and PFICP had actually given us a false Establishment Act, and now you have proved a false letter of appointment.
Chairman of the ad hoc committee, Representative Yusuf Gadi, accepted the police explanation, assuring members that the committee would obtain the necessary court order to enable the suspects appear before the panel, as investigations continue into the legality and activities of the council.
The committee has respected the judicial process and has proceeded with its assignment within the confines of the law. Based on the documentary evidence obtained during the investigation and engagement with the relevant government institution, the committee has uncovered what appears to be extensive act of document forgery, and we will do further confirmation in-house.
Meanwhile, the House Committee on South-South Development Commission has begun consultations with stakeholders on a bill seeking to strengthen the Commission's funding. Committee Chairman Julius Pondi said the proposed amendment is designed to provide a sustainable funding framework to accelerate development across the South-South region.
To strengthen the financial framework of the South-South Development Commission by expanding its sources of funding to enable it to discharge more effectively its statutory responsibility of facilitating the sustainable development of the South-South region.
OPTS respectfully submits that the proposed requirements for a 3% contribution from the total annual budget of oil and gas companies operating in the South-South region be reconsidered. It is the position of OPTS, therefore, that the provision be expunged from the bill. In its current form, the provision introduces a duplicative fiscal obligation, giving existing statutory contributions under the PIA and other oil and gas industry-focused laws.
Preliminary selected company data, a 3% charge applied to the combined capital and operating expenditure base would amount to approximately $285.35 million and would mechanically increase the weighted unit technical cost by about 0.96 per DOE.
However, while regulators and all industry operators endorsed the Commission's developmental mandates, they rejected a proposed 3% levy on the annual budget of all companies, warning that it could increase operational costs, duplicate existing statutory obligations, and discourage investments. And that's the much we can take on this edition of the program. See you next week on the Parliament on Global Television, which is on channel 365 on DSTV and on StarTimes channel 276, as well as on Free TV. To stay connected, kindly follow us across all social media platforms by using @GlobalTVNG. From all of us here, we say thank you for watching. I am Aniti Patrick. Bye for now.